Hello and welcome to the class today. So, in the subject secondary or senior secondary education, we are going to deal with a very important topic today, that is the achievement tests. So, how do we determine that what a person knows about a certain test or certain subject, or how we determine the level of their skills? How do we know what they have achieved? How do we know they have reached to a certain level in a certain area? So one of the most common ways to find out is the achievement test. An achievement test is designed to measure a person's level of skill, accomplishment, or knowledge in a specific area. So for that, our learning objectives for today will be to discuss the purpose, functions, and characteristics of achievement test, to describe the steps involved in constructing an achievement test, to understand the importance of types of achievement test. So let us take a look at the dictionary meaning of achievement first, as it is a most important goal of education, so it should be understood well. So it is a thing somebody has done successfully, especially using his or her own effort and skill. Then only we can call it as achievement. So achievement test is tool for teachers for evaluation of students in various situations of school. And the achievement test that most people are familiar with are the standard exams taken by every student in school. So students are regularly expected to demonstrate their learning and show their proficiency in a variety of subjects. So in most cases, certain scores on these achievement tests are needed in order to pass a class or continue on to the next grade. So by this only, with the help of this, we can measure the amount of success of an individual in specific field. And if we talk about the school environment, it is used as an instrument to measure success of an individual in particular subject or group of subjects. So it gives the knowledge about what an individual acquire by testing his abilities, capacities, etc. So it is a tool which helps in measuring the capacities and capabilities of an individual, and it is also helpful in upgrading the standard of education in an energetic way, so that the individual can see with their own eyes that what they achieve by their past learning. So let us take an example to understand the achievement level of the students. For example, a student in class 9th can solve 5 varieties of problem relating to reflection and refraction of light successfully. But another student of the same class can solve only 3 varieties. So here we can make a judgment. We can say that the first student has better achievement, then in solving problem on reflection and refraction of light, he could achieve more. Thus, we can make a value judgment that he can achieve more because he had acquired more knowledge, understanding, and skills in the concept in solving problems related to reflection and refraction of light in different contexts than what the second student had acquired during the same time. So, academic achievement is in general referred to the degree or level of success or proficiency attained in specific area that could be related to scholastic or academic activity. So let us now take a look at a few definitions of achievement test. According to N.M. Downey, any test that measures the attainments or accomplishments of an individual after a period of training or learning is called achievement test, and it helps to permute the student to next class. So according to him, uh, any kind of attainments which a student has done, any accomplishment he has taken after a period of training or learning or after a particular session, a particular year, is called achievement test. So after that particular training or learning, we are able to know that how much he has attained, how much he has accomplished. And thus, it helps in promoting or transferring the student to the next class. Whereas another person, Waters, say achievement tests act as useful aids in diagnosing the student's specific learning needs for identifying his relative strengths and weaknesses. So here the achievement test is also working as a part of assessment. So here it provides a very useful aid in diagnosing the specific learning needs of the students. It helps in identifying the specific strengths and weaknesses of the students. So in this area also achievement test is very important. Then according to Super, an achievement test or a proficiency test is used to ascertain what and how much has been learned or how well a task can be performed. So here Super has added a new dimension to achievement test, that it is a kind of proficiency test in which we are finding out what values they have learned, how much they have learned, and how well they can perform a task. So we need to see the level of the performance of the students. And whereas Freeman says achievement test is a test designed to measure knowledge, understanding, and skills in a specified subject or a group of subjects. So it is a test which is specially designed to measure the various objectives like knowledge, understanding, skills that can be done for a specific subject or a group of subjects. So these are the functions of achievement test. The first one, it provides basis for promotion to next grade. So this is very clear to us that if we need to promote the student to the next class, to the next grade, achievement test could be a better option. And it is mostly formally used in our schools to do that. The next function is find out where each student stands in various academic areas. We need to find out how much they have learned, at what level they are standing, and if we need to compare them with the other students of the class, where they stand, how they can improve. Uh, we have to find out about the various subjects and various academic areas which they are learning. So their achievement test gives a idea about that. It motivates the students before a new assignment has taken up. Yes, the students will be able to find out that how much they have achieved. It is not only the results which will be given to the parents or the teachers or the management. It will also, the result will be in front of the students also. So they can also self-evaluate their performance, how much they have achieved in a certain period of time, so that it gives motivation to them. If it's good, then they will be motivated to take up new tasks, and if it is not good, there are certain weaknesses, they will try to improve in those areas. So it is important to provide motivation also. It exposes pupils difficulties which the teacher can help them to solve. Without testing them, without finding out after a proper measurement, the difficulties cannot be diagnosed. So it is also necessary that after every session or during the session, through various kinds of evaluations, the pupils are assessed, and the teachers can then help them to solve those problems through remedy or other kind of techniques which they can adopt. Now we will discuss the characteristics of achievement test, which are very important if we have to prepare an achievement test. The first one is very important, that is reliability. Reliability is the degree of accuracy with which an exam test measures what it seeks to measure a given variable. So if we have to find out a good reliability, that means the test taker will obtain the same test score over repeated testing as long as no other extraneous factors have affected the score. So this is how reliability is determined in achievement test. On the same group of tests, there are variety of reliability, types of reliability. And in one of the methods, the test is administered on the same group after few days, after few time, and after a difference of time. And after that, we have to determine whether the scores which have been availed earlier are similar or consistent. So over a period of time, that should be consistent. Otherwise, there will be lack of reliability in that test. So for checking reliability, a good instrument will produce consistent scores. So an instrument's reliability is estimated using a correlation coefficient of one type or another. So we need to find out the correlation between the two tests which we have administered. And on the basis of that only, we will be able to pronounce or announce that if this test is reliable or not. Then the next characteristic is validity. So validity is the quality of a test which measures what it is supposed to measure, for which this test has been prepared. Is it measuring that aspect only? So it is the degree to which evidence, common sense, or theory supports any interpretations or conclusions about a student based on his or her test performance. A test can be considered valid when it produces consistent scores over time. It measures what it intends to measure, for which purpose the test has been prepared. It can be objectively scored, and it has representative norms. So if these conditions are fulfilled, then we can say that the test is valid. There should be an ease in administration. A test is good only when the conditions of answering are simple, whether it is scientific or logical, and the instructions which are given should be simple and clear. So the student should not be confused while reading the test or doing the exam, and the conditions which are proposed before the students should be simple, and there should be clear instructions what should be done, when should be done, how it is to be done. For example, if the graphs have to be used in the exam, then the graphs should be made available to the students. So what is expected from the students and what arrangement should be done, it should be done properly so that there should be proper administration and should be easy administration. And for this, prior planning could be done while administering the test. Cost. A good test should be inexpensive, not only from the viewpoint of money, but also from the viewpoint of time and the effort taken while constructing the test. So there is not a relationship, direct relationship between the cost and quality. Cost means that it should not be costly or in terms of time and effort. So the examiner or the paper setter or the experts who are preparing the achievement test should not waste their time if they are not knowledgeable, and the paper setters should be selected on certain criteria. They should be qualified, so it will obviously save time and efforts. Then the time. So it is also very important. Generally the time given to students is always in short supply. However, the students too do not accept very long tests. So this has to be decided earlier, that on what basis the test will be prepared, how long will be the duration, and if whether the students will be able to complete the test within the duration. So we can say that a test should neither be very long and nor very short. So this should be taken in consideration. Acceptability. A good test should be acceptable to students to whom it's being given without regard to any specific situation. That is, the question given in the test should be neither very difficult or nor very easy. So generally what kind of trend is followed while preparing these question papers is there should be some percentage of difficulty level should be considered, like there should be few difficult questions, some percentage of average questions, and some percentage of easy questions, so that every kind of student or average kind of students can also attempt all questions. Objectivity. A test is objective when the scorer's personal judgment doesn't affect the scoring, which generally happens in the essay type questions, where the one student is given low marks and another student is given high marks for the same answer given. So that type of objectivity should be made. There should not be subjectivity in scoring. There should be objectivity. So the questions should be such, the scoring part should be clear to the examiners so that they can give equal numbers, and there should not be any kind of impartiality or any kind of subjectivity. Then the next characteristic is equilibrium, the balance. So the achievement of the correct proportion among questions allotted to each of the objectives and teaching content. So as we all know that before preparing the exam, before preparing the achievement test, there must be a certain blueprint and outline prepared, and there should be certain determination of objectives based on which the test will be prepared, and there should be a certain teaching content out of which the questions will be asked. So there should be a proper balance of each of it. There should be properly, questions must be divided among the various objectives, teaching objectives, which has to be measured, and also the content should be equally balanced. The questions should be asked from every area. It should not focus on one particular area and the other areas are neglected. So this should be taken into consideration also. Then the specificity. The items in a test should be specific to the objectives. It should specifically ask what they want to ask based on the objectives, whether they want to check the knowledge, understanding, skill, or application. It should be precise and clear. So items should be precise, clear, so that the students can answer well and score good marks. So this is how achievement test can be categorized. There are basically two broad categories of standardized test and teacher-made test. And in teacher-made test, these tests can be prepared in three ways, like written, oral test, or practical test. And the written test can be further prepared as essay type, short answer type, or objective type. So let us now discuss about the standardized test. Standardization means uniformity of procedure in scoring, administering, and the interpretation of the results. So everything will be same at the equal level. So it is the procedure where the scoring have been fixed so that precisely the same test can be given at different times and places. For example, we can say the board exams which are conducted in classes 10th and 12th can be called as standardized test. So standardized tool is one for which norms have already been established. A standardized test is prepared after several trials of a test to a large number of students. So while we will discuss the steps of construction of achievement test, we will see that how tryouts, preliminary tryouts has to be taken out while giving the test. These are the characteristics of standardized test. The content which is used should be standardized. The item selection should be done by competent experts. Administration should consider the direction and the time limit. The scoring should be done on the basis of the rules already set. The scoring key should be prepared. Norms should be given so that the result should be interpreted properly. Now we will see the importance of standardized test. It should give impartial information about an individual. So there should not be any subjectivity while scoring the question papers. So there should not be any partiality. It provides information in much less time than provided by any other devices. Because these are standardized tests, these have followed the norms and standards. So this is why it will take much less time in providing information to the students. Test measures those aspects of behaviors which otherwise could not be obtained. So here we do not want to just test the cognitive aspects. We need to test the affective and psychomotor part also. So all aspects of behavior should be obtained. In subjective observation, we may overlook shy children, but these tests discover such cases also. So there are certain students who are not able to be active while in the teaching learning process. They are more studious, or they keep to themselves, they are shy, they hesitate in answering or participating. And when they perform in these tests, they perform good. They are good in studying. They are good in giving performances like this. So while if we follow the standardized procedure, so then we can say that shy students, the hesitant students, or the inactive students can also perform well. So these are the types of standardized tests normally which takes place, like aptitude test, attitude test, intelligence test, interest test, or the personality test. So these may be sometimes on the basis of psychology. So they can be psychological tests. Otherwise, they can be academic tests, like while taking admissions, various institutions organize such aptitude and attitude tests. And while going into certain jobs, these kind of tests can be taken, so that correct candidate can take admission there according to their aptitude or attitude. As taking admission in any teacher training institution, you have to pass through the entrance test. Those are also the attitude test, which need to check if you have teaching aptitude or not. So now the second type of achievement test are the teacher-made test. And teacher-made tests are classroom tests basically, and are developed by the teachers. So sometimes standardized procedures are not followed here, because the teacher can decide whenever they want to evaluate through various kinds of tests. So these tests assess students' learning every period of time or after a particular unit of study. So this whole depends upon the teacher. These are the features of the teacher-made test. It assesses degree of students' progress with reference to classroom activities. So a teacher knows better whatever he has been teaching in the class, how to assess what the students have achieved, what is the students' progress, so that it helps in further strategies. Help the teacher to assess individual people's strengths and weaknesses, and also their needs, what they need, how to improve in their teaching. On the basis of that only, they can motivate the students. It is very simple to use, because they don't have to take permission from everywhere, or they don't have to follow certain standard procedures or norms. They can easily make a certain test, and they can sometimes take surprise test also. So it is very easy to take. It provides feedback for teachers as to assess the effectiveness of teaching methods. This is very important. Sometimes the teachers do not know whether what they are delivering in the class is uh, uh, doing any effect on the learning part of the students or not. So for that, they can continuously implement these kind of teacher made test, and find out that whether their teaching methods are being effective in the class or not. There are certain limitations also of teacher made test, and these are: tests are ambiguous and unclear. Yes, every teacher do not know how to prepare tests or exams or questions, so they may be sometimes unclear. They do not know how to present or pose questions before the students. Tests are either too short or too lengthy, sometimes in a hurry, in just to mere to complete the formality, the teacher can make it too short, or can make it too lengthy for the students. They may not cover the entire content. Sometimes by taking test after 2 units, they stop taking test. They don't want to take test, and they are more busy in completing their course. So this may also happen. tests serve limited purpose. Because if after completing a chapter, a teacher has prepared a test, a surprise test for the student, it can be orally asked, written test, or based on any practical. So it is limited to that particular topic taught by the teacher. So tests are usually hurriedly conducted. Yes, sometimes the teachers are in a hurry to just mere complete the formality, to test how what the students have learned. So it may not follow the proper procedure, or it may be unclear to the students. So these are the differences we can here say between the standardized test and the teacher-made test. So first of all, on the basis of purpose, we can say standardized test measures the educational outcomes of students of a number of schools. Okay, and whereas the teacher-made test, it measures the outcome of a teacher's teaching or outcome of learning in their class. If we talk about the scope of standardized test is very wide, and the scope of teacher-made test is limited. If we talk about accuracy, the standardized test is more accurate because it is based on the norms, and the teacher-made test is less accurate. And if we talk about the quality of the test, then the standardized tests are duly edited, because after considering the various experts, the number of items are changed, the language of the items are changed. And whereas if we see the teacher-made test, they don't get it tested by any other experts, they don't show it to others, they do not try out. So sometimes it is not up to mark. Standardized tests are based on some norms, and teacher-made tests do not follow any norms. They can be taken by teacher anytime. So while the sources of standardized test can be teachers, experts, research workers, and whereas the teacher-made tests are based on the experience of teacher. Standardized tests like the psychological test are published, and teacher-made tests are only made handmade, handwritten. Sometimes it can be. It is not published. In standardized test, it covers the state or regional curriculum, and whereas the teacher-made test covers the small area of curriculum. So this is how we can differentiate between the standardized test and the teacher-made test. Now we will follow the construction and standardization of an achievement test. And first of all, we will see how it is constructed. So for constructing achievement test in any school subject, two questions have to be followed. That is, what to measure and how to measure. So what to measure involves certain objectives in view that enables to bring accepted changes in the student's behavior when we teach. And for answering the second question, how to measure, it involves how to construct an instrument that measures the abilities which we want to measure of the students. Now, standardization process is of high qualities and deep understanding of subject matter. Standardization test specifies the direction for administrating and scoring the test on different groups of individuals like whom that the test is designed. Standard content develops the procedure for identical test on individuals in different places and at different times. So this is by this we can understand that this is the standardization procedure. So these are the steps or the general principles for the construction of achievement tests. The first step is the planning of the test. Then there is the preparing of the preliminary draft. Then it is try out. Then item analysis is done. After that, the final draft is prepared. And after that, few reliability, validity, and norms are established. So first of all, we will see the first phase, that is planning of the test, and it is carried out with the help of two steps. First is the designing of the test. So it is the most important step in building of the test. Designer should be careful about planning and making tests successful. He should keep this in mind, that how and what type of questions are used. He has to decide the weightage for different objectives. There could be difference of weightage given to various objectives or the units in the course. So following points can be considered if the designer wants to design a test in a systematic way. Identification of objectives, measurement of the content, allotment of the time, allotment of the marks. If it includes multiple choice question, what kind of questions, types of questions, emphasis on each subject and area of question. Then the next step in this is preparation of blueprint. So after designing, preparation of blueprint is the last stage of the planning of test. So here the test maker put various type of questions in blueprint. It is a matrix kind of format, and where the marks are allotted depending on the time. So here the tester writes down his decisions in the form of a blueprint. On the basis of that outline only, he will pursue further steps. So this can be a example for the blueprint. Different universities and different teacher training institutions follow different procedures for blueprint. But here we are clear about the areas which we have to cover, what objectives will be covered, what type of questions will be covered, and how many marks will be given to every area. Then the next step is the preliminary draft, and it is prepared by following three stages. First is the writing of the item. It is based on the blueprint. So the test maker should have following points in mind while doing that. Each item contains single idea. Questions should be clear. It should be simple and easy to understand. Double barrel, double meaning questions should be avoided. Arrangements of items should be from simple to complex. Subjective questions also should be avoided. Then there should be item editing. After writing the items, there should be editing. It should be reviewed by certain experts. The teachers or the experts can check the errors in language and defect in words. And after the defects are removed, it is submitted to the experts. And the experts of measurement measure the level of achievement of items. After that, the next step is pre-tryout. The draft which has been reviewed is modified, and the shortcomings of the draft has been removed. In this stage, constructor is confident for the usability of test. Then the next step is the tryout. To ensure the proper operating of test items and to remove shortcoming, it is essential to have tryout of items. So this helps in predicting how students will work in actual practices. So at this stage, the test should be so timed that nearly 90% of the sample should be able to attempt all the items of the test. Okay, so keep following points can be kept in mind while testing the sample. Proper sitting arrangement should be done. The time of administrating the test, the total time required for test, and proper motivation to the students. So these points should be taken care of while doing the tryout. Then the next step is the item analysis. So in this stage, the test constructor examines the responses of respondents in the sample to each test item. So it can be carried out through statistical procedure, and it is an analysis of responses made to teacher-made test by the pupil in the class. Then after that, there is a final draft which is prepared, and it should be arranged in such a way that easy, average, difficult, all kinds of questions are given in the question paper, from easy and so on. So by doing this, student at least go through whole test because he know that some of remaining questions are easy. So when the test is arranged properly with the help of principles or characteristics, a clear test appears before the test constructor. The last step is the establishment of reliability, validity, and norms. With the selection of good items, now final draft has been prepared, and the final step is the establishment of reliability, validity, and norms. These test items administered to a larger sample. So reliability, as we have discussed, that it is again given to a same set of group, and according to that computation is done, and sometimes with the help of split half method of reliability, and with this reliability can be tested. Then the validity is a very important aspect, and it is very highly reliable because if a test is valid. So it can be done by four methods, that is the face validity, just looking at the content validity, looking deeper into the content, concurrent validity, and predictive validity, whether it will be able to be useful or not. Norms, it is an average score of sample population. So these are the level obtained by a particular group of persons on a test. So there are many types of norms like age, needs, grade, percentile, or any kind of standard scores. So with this, we have come to the end of the topic, and we have learned how the achievement tests are constructed in the manner of standardized test, or if they are prepared as a teacher-made test. And in the later classes, we will talk about the teacher-made test also in detail. So you can go through these videos and the material provided on eGyan Kosh, and you will be able to know more about, understand more about the achievement test, so that you can use properly, effectively in your classes. Now we will move on to our next section, that is evaluation section. And the question number 1 is, identify the wrong statement while doing item editing. So there is a phase while preparing achievement test, and that is the item editing. So the options are, the items of the test are edited and reviewed as per the suggestions given by experts. The suggestions are incorporated and defects are removed. It is average score of sample population, or none of the above. So here we can see that we have to identify the wrong statement regarding the item editing. So while editing, it is reviewed as per the suggestions, and changes are made by the experts. So if the suggestions are given, incorporated, then the defects are removed. And it is an average score of sample population is the wrong answer. It is not an average score of sample population. Norms are the average score of sample population. Question number 2 is, which of the following is not the characteristics of achievement test? Options are precise and clear, objectivity, specificity, or too costly. So above three options are the characteristics of achievement test, and too costly is not the characteristics, because cost effective is one of the characteristic of achievement test, and it should not be inexpensive. It should be inexpensive in the terms of time and efforts. The next question is, standardized tests are more dash in comparison to teacher-made test. The options are lengthy, accurate, wide, or easy. So how we have seen that there are differences between teacher-made test and standardized test, and standardized test can be considered as more accurate in comparison to teacher-made test. Then question number 4 is, which of the following is the limitations of teacher-made test? Tests are ambiguous and unclear. Tests are either too short or too lengthy. Tests do not cover the entire content. Tests serve limited purpose, or all of the above. So by going through all the options, we can say that all the 4 options are correct, and these are the limitations of teacher-made tests. So all of the above is correct. The next option is, dash is the degree to which a test measures what it is supposed to measure. So this we have discussed, that on the basis of what factor we decide that it is what it is supposed to measure. The options are objectivity, reliability, validity, or usability. So the correct answer is validity. So it is the degree which helps in finding out if the test is supposed to measure what for which it has been prepared. The next question is, to ensure the proper operating of test items and to remove shortcoming, it is essential to have dash of items. So there is a particular stage where we got it checked by the experts, so that do it on a sample, so that we know that it is appropriate for those students for which we have prepared it. So the options are print out, try out, total time, or sitting arrangements. So the correct option is the try out. The try out of items is very much necessary before implementing it or executing it in reality. The next question is, which of the following is not correct regarding test conductor having points in mind when he writes items for preliminary draft? So what considerations are not correct? The options are: questions should be clear, it should be simple and easy to understand, no double-barreled questions should be avoided, and arrangement of items should be difficult to complex. So here the wrong answer is arrangement of items should be difficult to complex, because as we have seen that while preparing the test constructor should arrange the items in such a way that it should be easy to difficult or simple to complex and not difficult to complex. Question number 8 is, after designing, preparation of dash is the last stage of the planning of test. Options are norms, calculation, blueprint, or yellow paper. So we have discussed that there should be a proper outline to be prepared before planning of the test, and that is the preparation of blueprint. So after designing, preparation of blueprint is the last stage. Question number 9 is, dash test specifies the directions for administrating and scoring the test on different groups of individuals like whom the test is designed. Options are non-standardized, standardized, blueprint, or class. So what type of test have a specific direction for administration and scoring of the test? And the correct answer is standardized test follows these norms. And the last question is, an achievement test or proficiency test is used to ascertain what and how much has been learned or how well a task can perform. So who gave this definition? And the option are Super, Waters, N.M. Downey, or Freeman. And the correct answer is Super. He has given this definition. So with this, we come to the end of the class, and hope you will go through the video and go through the references, and you will be able to clear your concept of achievement test. Thank you very much.